thank you. Вот это есть на самом деле, даже понимаю.
Меня зовут Крис. Недавно я встретила своего бывшего, который погиб. И с ним была моя копия. И теперь она живет моей жизнью.
Well, welcome to today's talk. It's Friday the 7th of January. Hope you caught the last video on the change of poster because it's no longer possible to stop Omicron. So we've changed to this new infographic poster. Now today I want to look at the surge of cases in the United States and the United Kingdom. This is unstoppable. We can modify it a little bit, we could slow it down a bit. It'll take longer to get around everyone, but we can't stop it now. This Omicron wave is now inevitable that we're all going to be exposed to it. Many of us won't suffer from it, many will be asymptomatic, the vast majority will have minimal disease, most often as a common cold. Some people will feel pretty sick for 2-3 days. A minority of people will require hospital care. But that's what we're looking at today now. Let's look at some data first of all. So here we have the world cases. This is from Our World in Data. This is all over the world, the whole world, and we can see there's a big Omicron spike. bigger than any of the previous waves by quite a long way, as basically, as we've said, everyone in the world is being exposed to Omicron. This is deaths. As the Omicron cases have gone up, deaths have gone down. So we see the high deaths in previous waves, and now we see that deaths are still declining in this age of the Omicron variant. New daily confirmed COVID-19 cases per million. Well, we do see this upward trend. And this is going to continue for about another 2 weeks, is what the data is showing. Another 2 to 3 weeks. Is going to peak at the end of January. Then hospitalisations are going to peak in February. And that's looking fairly sure now. I think we can say that with some confidence. But let's carry on sticking to the data. So increase in cases, remember this is diagnosed cases rather than infections, diagnosed cases being a subset of the total number of infections. Canada, Netherlands, United States, Netherlands bounced, this here, Netherlands was Delta, so they've come from Delta straight onto Omicron. United States, Omicron, Australia, Omicron. Interesting now, cases in Australia, despite the difficulty of testing in Australia, but there again there's difficulty in testing in America. So these cases in Australia and the United States are gross underestimates of the actual number of infections because of the great difficulty with testing logistics. But despite that, these are actual diagnosed cases. So the real numbers we can say are at least twice as high. United Kingdom, now cases are still going up in the United Kingdom, but not going up as quickly. That's the key point. Ireland still remarkably high, and of course Ireland is a highly vaccinated nation, and yet with very high numbers of diagnosed cases. Hospital patients, Netherlands still going down as it recovers from its Delta wave. Australia is going up, but it's not that high in Australia yet. It is going up though. Ireland data still somewhat incomplete. Canada somewhat of an increase. United Kingdom, it's increasing. It's not at critical levels yet. The main problem in the United Kingdom, and the reason why the 200 military personnel have been drafted into hospitals in London that I've heard of so far, is because of staff sickness. This is the real problem. So many staff are isolating. And about half of the staff that are off sick are isolating because of Omicron exposure. So this is the real problem at the moment. United States hospitalisations have remained high and have gone up, and this is partly because of the comorbidities in the United States and the obesity and unmanaged hypertension and other chronic problems like that that often aren't that well managed in many segments of society in the United States. Now this graphic here is the reproduction rate, the R number. Now here's one. So anything above this, numbers are increasing. So as we can see, numbers are increasing now. Even when the line starts to go down here, as in the case of the United Kingdom, this is still a positive R value. So this represents still an exponential increase in cases. It's just the rate of increase is not as rapid. So the R value is down from about 1.4 to about 1.2 or thereabouts. But the cases are still increasing, just that the rate of increase is not as dramatic, but they are still increasing. So we can say the cases are going to carry on increasing, we believe, at least even if the line goes down to here, the cases will still be increasing because it's got to go below this line here for the cases to start decreasing. So Netherlands will carry on increasing, United Kingdom will. Canada, again, the rate of increase has gone down somewhat. Ireland and the United States, the rate of increase has increased. And Australia, it's flattening off according to that data. People in Australia are very keen to tell me that the approach in Australia is very different in different parts. It's the New South Wales, Sydney area that seems to be saying let it rip, whereas other parts of Australia are being more conservative. Now let's just go on to look at some data now from the United States. New York hospitals, how this is transposing into hospitalisations. Well, incidental positives. In other words, people that are admitted to hospital and found to be positive for Omicron for other reasons are 50% in some hospitals in New York and up to 65% in others. So quite variable. So this emergency care physician, we're seeing an increase in numbers of hospitalisations, but the severity of the disease looks different from previous waves. This is not as severe as previous waves. Dr. Shamira goes on, we're not sending as many patients to the ICU, we're not intubating, putting tubes down the trachea as many patients, and actually most of our patients come into the emergency department, they get tested and basically they get sent home. So that's pretty good news really. So these cases are not transposing into hospitalizations the way they have done in previous waves. Now I want to look at some more data from the United States now, which gives projections. This is from the Institute of Health Metrics and Evaluation, reference given of course. So daily infections, this is roughly where we are now, so we can see they are going to carry on going up. This assumes 85% of the population wear masks. I don't think the effect will be as dramatic as that with Omicron, to be quite honest, but that's their modelling. So this is basically what's going to happen. So cases are here now, they're going to go on increasing up until what, about the third week in January. So by the 1st of February, the number of cases, not the rate of growth, the actual number of cases in the United States will be declining, and it will go on declining throughout February up until the 1st of March, and then by the 1st of April the cases will be declining even further. And I must say this is roughly what we've been thinking on this channel for, well, a good few weeks now actually, a good few weeks. Hospital use in the United States, how's that going to pan out? Well again, it's definitely going to go up. And this model actually thinks there's going to be an increase in ICU bed admissions. Now, so far, this is not what we're seeing. It's not what we're seeing. So let's hope this is overly pessimistic. Again, a close-up on that. Overall hospitalisation, so we're looking at maximum increase in cases here, end of January, maximum hospitalisations, middle of February, then pressure is going to ease. So make no mistake, there is going to be a fairly difficult time in terms of hospitalisations in the States especially. And we've seen that hospitalisation in the States have remained high. Deaths in the United States, again an optimistic scenario. This scenario here assumes that Omicron is going to be quite severe, but I don't think that's going to happen. So this is roughly where we're going to get. There's going to be some increase in deaths, up to around about the 2,000 a day mark. And then it's going to fall off to into April, and again that's a closer up view of that. So maximum deaths are going to occur in the middle of February in the United States, and I think this will be the last winter, but it's going to be a difficult one in the States. This is certainly in the States. Just to give a couple of localized illustrations. This is California. This is California, the increasing cases in unvaccinated, but vaccinated cases are increasing as well, of course. That's the data from California, increasing cases. This is the data from New York. Now this is percentage here, and this is total numbers on this side. So these grey bars here are the delta. So we can see that the size of the delta bars are getting smaller. In terms of percentage, yes, but in terms of overall numbers as well. So the latest data we have is that delta is only about 4% of cases here in New York. That's the latest data we have there. That means all these cases are Omicron, and that represents 95.7% of cases are now Omicron. So because the Omicron bars are getting bigger and because the delta bars are getting smaller, we can now definitively say that in the United States, as was the case in the United Kingdom, that Omicron is replacing Delta. And of course this is remarkably good news. This is exactly what we would want. That we're getting the less pathogenic Omicron, and we're getting less of the more pathogenic Delta. But the sheer numbers, because it's all happening, everyone's going to be exposed, virtually everyone's going to be exposed by most of us by the end of January, pretty well the rest of us by the end of February, and a few stragglers by the end of March, April. We're going to be exposed to this. Now what about other countries? Let's look at another example here. So this is a good example here from France. This is one of the leading medical authorities in France. I think we're coming to the peak of this new wave primarily towards the beginning of the second fortnight in January. So again, the next week or two France is going to peak. So it looks like the Omicron tsunami in France is roughly keeping time with the one in the UK. Again, it's what we've been predicting for